Okay, good afternoon, everybody, on this sunny Saturday afternoon in Hanoi, and welcome to the first of our Partners in Innovation webinar series for teachers in Vietnam, but also we have teachers from many other countries, hopefully this afternoon. If you bear with me a second, I will share my slides. Okay, hopefully you can see my slides now. So just some housekeeping to start with. During the webinar, feel free to keep your cameras on, but please keep your microphones on mute during the main session. And do share your questions and any comments or observations you have in the box which is marked Q&A for questions and answers. And also note that this session will be recorded, and then later on we will share this on our YouTube platform, and I'll tell you more about that in just a few minutes. Okay, so as I say, welcome to everybody. We had just before we went on live, we had 300 people registered from Cambodia, from China, from Indonesia, from Thailand, and also from here in Vietnam. And as hopefully most of you know, in Vietnam today is Vietnamese Teachers Day, so a very happy Vietnamese Teachers Day to all of you. And that's why we chose today to start our new webinar series for teachers. Through this series, starting today, we're going to look at two main projects. One is the Prelim project, which was with the VietTESOL Association here in Vietnam. My colleague Fiona will tell you a little bit more about that in just a few minutes, so don't worry if you don't know what Prelim means yet. And then in a month's time, in the next few months, we're going to start looking at some of our Digital Learning Innovation Fund projects starting in December, and I'll tell you more about that at the end of today's webinar with Fiona. Before I hand over to Fiona, one thing you should know if you don't already, our colleagues at British Council Indonesia, together with ITEL in Indonesia, have a series of webinars every 2 weeks, every 2 Saturdays in Indonesia at 4 o'clock. So if you have your phone, okay, and you go onto your camera, you can click on the QR code now that's on the screen, and you can click straight through to the Saturday Tech Talk series, and you can join today's webinar, which starts immediately after this one with Fiona at 4 o'clock. And today's theme, if you can see there, is maintaining classroom interaction. Oh, sorry, that's very small. Just realized that's better. Okay, you can see there, session number 3, maintaining classroom interaction, and that starts immediately afterwards. Okay, at 4 o'clock. I will share this in the Q&A and in the chat, and I'll also share it at the end of today's session. So today we're going to look at Prelim, which is the Partnered Remote Language Improvement Project, a long title. The report is available from the first iteration, which took place earlier this year, and Fiona is our guest speaker today, is going to talk a little bit more about their experience working with VietTESOL Association here in Vietnam. And also later this year, the VietTESOL, or the start of next year, 2022, the VietTESOL Association are going to have another Prelim 2, this time with a different English language centre from the UK, which is CELT. Meanwhile, Fiona's centre, the Wimbledon School of English, are going to work with Brazil. If you'd like to know more about the project, Fiona's going to tell you more about it in just a minute, and you can use the QR code and you can get the report there. Again, I will share that in the chat with you in just a moment. So that's some basic introductions. So now it gives me great pleasure to hand over to my colleague Fiona Dunlop, who is the principal at Wimbledon School of English in London, who's going to talk to us today a little bit about the Prelim project that they did here in Vietnam, and also about CPD for busy teachers. So with that, I will hand over to you, Fiona. Good morning, I should say. It's very early in the UK. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, David.
Okay.
And hello, everyone. Hello, and happy National Teachers' Day as well in Viet Nam. That's lovely. I'm just trying to share my slides here and having a little bit of difficulty, I'm afraid. Let me see. Just bear with me a second. Let me see if I can do it from here. Here we are. I'm not sure why this is coming up blank.
Yeah, we can't see. I can just see your computer screen at the moment.
Yes.
Folder.
I might need to see if Hu Young could do my slides instead.
Queen, can you share?
If I stop presenting. So apologies everyone, we'll just be a second to get the slides up. It's nice to get the visuals as I'm talking here. Let me stop sharing. Right, I'm just trying one more time. But
Try one more time and then
I'm not.
Queen can help
I'm
us.
just not sure why it's blank here. Let me see. Okay, stop presenting. Apologies, everyone. I wonder if Hu Young might be able to take over. I'm just trying one last time. No, I'm sorry, it's still coming up as blank for some reason.
No problem. I think my colleague Wayne will share. Yeah, there you go.
Yep, here we are.
Okay. All right. So thanks, Wayne. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Team effort, even now, Viet Nam and the UK. So here we are. Are we able to make the slides a bit bigger and full screen? So it's Happy Teachers Day to everyone, as I said, and thank you so much for joining us. Just as Hyun's getting ready with the slides there, I'm going to tell you a little about the Prelim project that we worked on with Viet Nam, because I'm going to talk about professional development, and this is a perfect example of a professional development project. I'll just give you a little idea of who I am first. I'm the principal at Wimbledon School of English in London, so I'm sitting here in London at the moment. It's the morning and it's cold and it's dull, so I wish I were there with you on the other side of the world. I've worked at Wimbledon for 20 years and we're named as the #1 school in the UK, and I believe that we have such a good reputation because continuing professional development runs through everything that we do and we take it very seriously. I have been in English language teaching for over 30 years, and I've always been passionate about lifelong learning. I myself want to keep developing as a teacher and as a manager, and what I would like to do in the next 55 minutes is share some of the tools, some of the activities, some of the thinking that has worked for me through my career, and I'd like you just to see what you think would work for you, because obviously we're all different and we're in different situations, so I hope that you take some things away from this. But as I said, I'm going to outline briefly what we did with our work in Viet Nam earlier this year. And the Prelim project is the Partnered Remote Language Improvement Project, and this is an initiative between British Council, VietTESOL, which is the International Association of Teachers of English as a Foreign Language, and also English UK. And it was matching teaching associations with schools in the UK. And we were lucky enough to work with VietTESOL. And I can sincerely say that we had a fantastic relationship, and a relationship that I hope will continue now over the years, a continuation between VietTESOL, Vietnamese teachers and Wimbledon School of English. And this is a little outline of what we did. So we worked with primary and secondary teachers who teach on different subjects. And Wimbledon School of English trainers delivered classes in confidence building, communication in the classroom, English language, and some teacher training. We did this through 2 hours of synchronous study, 1 evening per week for 6 weeks in small groups. And the turnout was great. Teachers from Vietnam were so engaging, and they really participated so well and made a great piece of progress. There was also 2 to 5 hours of asynchronous study. That means study that was outside of the face-to-face live teaching, and that provided blended projects where the trainer would feedback on any progress. As I said, the content was English language, soft skills, and teacher methodology, and we taught at 3 levels. And this was a great opportunity for us, certainly here in Wimbledon as well, to engage in something and to be talking to teachers like ourselves from another part of the world, and particularly in such a difficult time in the world, to do something that was really engaging and motivating for all. And if we can go to the next slide, that shows some of our participants here with some of our staff. There we are. Some lovely, happy times working with the teachers in Vietnam. And the next slide, we got some fabulous feedback as well. So you can see here, one of our participants says, "The course benefits me so much. The virtual class is so well managed by experienced teachers, despite the intervention of COVID-19 and the far connection among us. I learned much more from that most useful," if we can just go back a second, "and tactful skill from my beloved teacher." And I remember very well this participant. It was lovely to work with her. I was not the teacher. I cannot take credit for that quote. The teacher was our trainer here, Duncan. And so I think just very briefly, as I'm showing you the pictures, the happy faces, me talking about it, the quote, it was a great experience and there were lots of results and benefits on both sides. And so the next slide will show what the benefits were. So if we can move to the next slide, there we are. And certainly here at Wimbledon School of English, and I hope as well with the Vietnamese teachers and with our partners in Vietnam in VietTESOL, I hope this is what we both got from the experience. There was collaboration and joyful collaboration. It was a real pleasure to work together, and from that came relationship building. And also, you know, from that, here I am, you know, even just talking to David, being involved with all of you today is a result of this project. And it certainly gave us an understanding and appreciation of different contexts and cultures. In the UK, Vietnamese teachers are not a group of teachers that we normally work with. The UK schools, and certainly our school, we do not have very many students coming from Vietnam, so it was a real learning experience for us to understand a little of your context in teaching and learning. So shared learning and development, it was very much a mutual thing, and professional satisfaction, enjoyment, and therefore a sense of achievement. So it really felt, and there is another opportunity, as David said, for another school in the UK to be involved in this year. But this to me is what professional development really does. It does all of these things, and that's why today I'm here to talk to you about the benefits of professional development, and really to try and break it down and to make it easy for us to access. And if we can go to the next slide, Huyang. So I believe that embracing professional development, CPD, helps us find our professional happy place. And this is my happy place. This is Wimbledon. In the garden, the sun is shining. That's not today. But I believe that I've stayed there for 20 years because I've been given the opportunity to grow and develop and had guidance in that. But not everyone has that opportunity, and I do understand, and that's why today I want to share with you some of the things that have worked for me to integrate development and to see myself grow as a professional. And so next slide is a definition of CPD that I particularly like, and I'll just give you a second to read through that. So I want to bring your attention to the bottom line here, where it says CPD, professional development, is an essential component of professional life. It's not an extra. And that is what really hits home for me. And that's what I want to share with you, that it should not be a chore. It should not be something that we think, oh, I've had a long, busy week. I don't have time now for this. It should not be an add-on. Professional development is something that's happening every single day of our teaching lives, whether we're trying to do that or not. It's about recognising it, recognising the achievements that we're producing every day and how we grow from that. And it's about breaking it down, making it small and integrated so that there's no stress, so that it fits into our busy lives as teachers. But why is it important? And the next slide, Hu Young, I think is going to come line by line. So why is continuing professional development important? If we can just go through each point, if you're able to just click, there we are. So if you just click on them all, there we go, and I can go through them. These are quite obvious. So I think it's important if we can keep just going through the bullet points there, Hu Young. Thank you. Yep, just keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Lovely. So interest and motivation. We're not here to become millionaires, really, are we? We're not here in English language teaching to become rich. So I think we need to do something that motivates us, even after 30 years, even after 40 years, or right at the beginning of our careers. It's important to stay current. It gives us a feel-good factor. It makes us feel good about ourselves when we've pushed ourselves out of our comfort zone a little, tried something new in a class, reflected, got an idea from a colleague, come to a webinar on National Teachers' Day. Hopefully you'll leave today, start your Saturday evening at least, thinking, yes, I did something and that was engaging today. We owe it to our students and to ourselves. We're living in very changing times. And I think it's important here to our students to really be current. With that, and this may be me being too positive, but the more we develop, I do believe that it opens doors to possible employment prospects and career advancement, possible promotion and possible financial gain. And Hu Young, if we can go to the next slide there, sorry, enhances the reputation of our profession. So British Council, here we are in a British Council Day, and British Council in Innovations in the Continuing Professional Development of Language Teachers publication wrote this: CPD enriches teachers' professional lives, which in turn contributes to student learning and overall improvement in the quality of school systems. So you can see how joined up this is, and it's a win-win, isn't it? We're winning from it as teachers, our students, the schools, and therefore the whole profession. And with that, you know, with time, once the profession becomes more and more recognised, then I do believe that it will also offer us better opportunities within the profession. So how do we do it exactly? Well, we start by looking at ourselves. And today, really, my session in the next 30 minutes is going to be about you, thinking about you and taking that time. So it's about looking at what we achieve and building on that. And if we can go to the next slide, Hu Young. You're doing a very good job here. I know this is difficult to keep up. Slide monitor here. Thank you so much. So I'm asking you to think. Now, we don't have the time just now to stop and do this, but I'm asking you, after today's sessions, think about what you've achieved. Think about what you've learned, even write it down in the last 12 months. It's been a funny 12 months, hasn't it? What have you learned? What have you achieved? Write these down and start to really recognise them. Now, this is something that I do every single day. As I leave school in the evening, I look back, and it takes 2 minutes in my head. It takes 2 minutes, but the feel-good factor is extraordinary. What did I achieve today? What have I learned? And I'm the principal of the school, so I do a lot of work on projects. I work with staff, I work with students, and it's so rewarding to think, you know, my day has been a useful day, and what have I learned from it? From there, I think, what would I like to learn and achieve in the coming year? Big and small. So it's not just about the big picture, because the big picture can be overwhelming, but what little things do we want to achieve? And then thinking about this really helps us to build on the future. So being aware of our achievements allows us to structure our CPD pathway in a realistic and meaningful way. And with this, what I'm suggesting here is that we get to know ourselves, our achievements, our interests, where we're growing. And not only does this make us feel good, if we could just wait 1 second, it also allows us to build for the future. And we set goals to do this. But the goals must be realistic, and they must be small enough to be able to see them through. So what I suggest and how I work is I set myself small goals that are manageable, and with each goal I have a short time limit that I can then look back, have that feel good factor, see my progress to build upon it. And I like to think of smarter goals, as you can see here, as a way of breaking down and integrating my professional development into my daily life. And so a smarter goal, if you can just, Huyan, if you can just click through the whole slide here, it will tell us what's, there we are, and to the R there, perfect. So smarter, if you're not familiar, the goal should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound, and then very important, it must be enjoyable, it must be relevant to you. You must be able to get pleasure and relevance from it. And then reflected upon and praised for actually managing to achieve it. So with the smarter goals, this does allow us to, oh sorry, if we can just go back 1 second. It does allow us to break things down and to really build and move on in our professional development. And this is where I do think less is more. Small goals don't take on too much. And if we can go to the next slide, there is an example in case it's not clear. And as David's saying, we do have a Q&A at the end of this. So if anything's not clear, because I'm conscious that I am going through all of this quite quickly, then we can talk about it more in the Q&A. So an example in the next slide shows, here we are. So there's a smarter goal. I'll just let you have a read at that quickly. Okay, so hopefully you can see the specific, the measurable, the reflected upon. Enjoyable, of course, is a personal thing. So I've got some homework for you all online. If we can go to the next slide. So a takeaway task, some homework. I'm inviting you to set one smarter goal that you would like to achieve by the end of the year. It can be small, it can be big. And email me. Here's my email address. I would love to hear from you. I would love to have a conversation about this. Don't be shy. Find the time. Think of one smarter goal. Maybe when you're making your dinner this evening, you start to think, what would I like to achieve before the end of December? And then there's my email. Start that conversation. Let's talk. Let's get to know each other. Send me your goal. So moving on, I want to look at a bigger holistic tool. And this is something that has worked well for me throughout my professional career. I'm going to describe for you now a way of really getting to know yourself, professionally and personally. And if you do nothing else after my session, I invite you, I implore you to try this, to start it today or tomorrow, and then you can build upon it over the next couple of weeks. But get this little activity started today, because it's a real opportunity to look at ourselves. And what I would say as teachers, and it is Teachers' Day today, we don't take enough time to look at ourselves and take that time for ourselves. This feeds into our well-being as well. If we can just go back a second to, sorry there, Huyan, to the, yeah, so I'm suggesting that we take time, we fit in a little bit more time in our daily and our weekly lives to think about ourselves. We're always working for our students, for our schools, for our peers, but this tool will help us to look at ourselves and take that 5 minutes, take that 10 minutes in a day to really reflect. So here's what we do, if we can go to the next slide. So on a big piece of paper or on your computer, you put you in the middle. And then around that, you identify the components, or the main components that make up your life, professionally, personally, or both. So here I have the green is my professional components, and the blue is a couple of things that I identified as feed into my personal life, my well-being and my family and friends. And then what you do is, and if we stay with this slide for the moment, we then look at what we give to each and what we get from it. So for example, if we move to the next slide now, Huyan, thank you. We can see here I've chosen my team, my role at the moment. So what do I give? I give lots of energy, I give time, guidance with my staff and students, patience, of course, to help people, headspace, I think about things as well, I take it home as I'm walking home, and of course more time. But what do I get in return? And this is where you're really sitting down and taking the time to look at how balanced things are. It gets you to start to think, am I giving too much and getting not enough in return? So what I get stimulation, it motivates me. I get a sense of pride. It gives me challenges, things to think about. I get job satisfaction from it. It's rewarding. I have a social aspect, working with my colleagues, my peers, our students in school. And so I feel there it's fairly balanced. Start this today or tomorrow if you can. But then build up a picture over the next couple of weeks so that you can start to see the energies, what you're giving to each component and what you're getting from it. You then start to think about what would happen if you move some of these around. Am I giving too much time to my team and not enough time to my family and friends? What would happen if I move some of the time to my family and friends? I leave work a little earlier to phone my mum. What would happen? Maybe nothing. Maybe there would be big consequences. Maybe I would feel more balanced. So it's about starting to really think about your professional life along with your personal life, and where there are spaces, where there are gaps, where there's too much energy going into something for not enough reward, and how you can fix that. And by doing this, it really shows you where you can build and where you can grow. So if you do nothing else after today, I do invite you to do this. And the next slide breaks down for you again, as I've demonstrated, how you do this. So you work alone without interruption. Be honest, because you're not going to share this unless you choose to. Be honest, this is about you. It's a time for you. So you're putting yourself in the middle. Add in the main areas Consider what you give to each and what you get back. Consider the impact of moving them around, and revisit this regularly over the next few weeks. And again, if you start this, if you do this, I would be interested to, if anyone wants to get back in touch with me, email me, have a conversation about this. Has it made any impact on your life? I have done this several times in my life, when I've been at crossroads, when I've felt bored, when I've not felt motivated. I've taken that time to stop and reflect in a structured way. And what does this give to us? The next slide shows us what this achieves. It allows a time to reflect, to stop and really think, assess where we are professionally. It allows you to focus and prioritise. It allows you to consider when to say yes and to take opportunities and to move on. But it also allows you to consider when to say no, I'm doing enough, I'm doing too much, let's do something about this. It really shows you the balance. So, as I said, do try this. And this is very, very, very useful, but let me move on to the practical, because we're talking about professional development in quite a lateral way. But I want to now look at what is out there for us to access for our professional development. And the next slide is a busy slide. And again, I'm happy to talk more about this in the Q&A, in the question and answer, or if you want to reach out to me following this for a one-to-one discussion, because there's a lot here and we don't have enough time to go into the detail. But there is a lot available for us that can be integrated, small, enjoyable, and not expensive. Because believe me, I do know all of you online, I appreciate that you're giving up your Saturday today, and you are probably exhausted after a long and busy week. I know that teaching is a tiring job. So let's make this work for us. So what's available? Local CPD groups, and you're maybe saying we don't have one. So start one. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. It can be as easy as getting 4 or 5 friends together over a coffee, over a Zoom, and just discussing, reflecting on your week, what you've learned, maybe doing some research. Again, there are lots of blogs, there are articles that don't need to be long. Bring it into your discussion. So start a group if there isn't one. Again, in school, if you're working in a school, short and sweet professional development sessions. They don't need to be an hour long. Why not introduce 15-minute CPD sessions once every 2 weeks, for example, with a task to do in your classroom in the middle. Observe yourself, record yourself, do it for 10 minutes. I know we get shy, we don't like the sound of our own voices, but maybe you want to think about how you give instructions, how you present grammar, how you do correction. Video yourself or record yourself just for that little part of the lesson and think back, listen back, and maybe talk to your peers about it. Ask to go in to see your peers. Pop in observations. 10 minutes. That's all it takes. And now when we're online a lot, it's even easier. Ask a friend, ask a colleague if they can record 10 minutes of the lesson. Share it with you so that you get an idea, because I know very often our timetables are the same. Take notes, reflect and write it down. Experimental day once a week. Try something new. Move yourself out of the comfort zone that you're in, even when you can't be bothered, even when you don't want to, even when you're tired, you feel better for it. Find a buddy and buddy up, share your ideas. Take on some project work, do a little action research. Volunteer in your school to move out of your comfort zone, and that might just be doing something like volunteer to set up a CPD group, volunteer to run a CPD session, volunteer to take on a new course, a new age group, anything like that. Reading and listening, podcasts, there are loads of things out there, and British Council, the website in British Council has so much to offer. But again, less is more. choose things selectively so that you're just doing a little. I try to listen to a podcast only once a week when I'm on the train. Online support, there's loads out there. There's conferences, there's examination sites have lots of material, publisher sites have lots of material there for you to dip into. Share some of this in the little CPD group that you're going to join with your peers and friends. So there's lots out there. As I said, we don't have time to go into the detail, but if we go to the next slide, think about which appeal to you and how might you do them. So moving on, next slide just recaps what we've done so far. So in the next slide, we have looked at a definition of CPD, thought about why we should develop, thought about the importance of achievements, the importance of reflection, or holistic reflection, setting goals, and what is available to us. But let's give it some structure, and a little tool that I like to use. There we are. Structure is the British Council website, again I mentioned. Here we are. So if you follow this link, this has been invaluable for me. We use this with our team of teachers all the time because there is so much in there. It gives guidance for teachers, there are webinars, guidance for managers, a framework for continuing professional development, and a portal with video clips, etc. This is an amazing resource to use. I have been using this for several years now, and I was actually part of the group that developed the original framework for continuing professional development. And so finally, I want to come to some practical hints on how to access and implement CPD into our busy working lives. Because what I'm not trying to do here on National Teachers' Day is to give you more work and more things to think about. I'm trying to suggest that this is enjoyable. It's something that motivates us, something that gives us a feel-good factor. So hint number one is to build an online network. And with the online network, reach out to people. Look for me on Facebook, look for me on LinkedIn, add me. David, who you're talking to, Huyan, who's doing our slides, I'm sure they would be happy to be part of our online network and see what's going on. But there's also a professional network. And what the online world does now is it allows us to join different groups. So for example, on Facebook, I use Facebook a lot, I use LinkedIn, but I know that people are using Instagram and other forums as well. So I'm a member now of the VietTESOL page, but I'm also a member of the page in Brazil, the page in Peru. I see what's going on in Latin America, I see what's going on in Vietnam. I can engage with teachers from all over the world. I get different perspectives and I find that really rewarding. Reach out to people, but be selective. There's a lot. Yeah, thank you, Huyan. That's great. Oh, sorry. Go back. Sorry, go back to the. There we go. As I know, it's very complicated. It's difficult managing someone else's slides, isn't it? So be selective. Don't take on too much. There's a lot of variety available. But think, what are you interested in? And that comes back to looking at your achievements and taking that holistic approach and seeing where your areas of growth are. And then what will be useful for your students, what's relevant to your organisations, what will move you forward. You're not necessarily looking for your weak areas, you're looking for your areas that can be built upon and expanded upon. And build it into what you already do. Give it a structure. It doesn't need to take longer than 5 minutes in a day to start doing these things. CPD is not just about attending big conferences, reading big articles, doing big projects. Give it a structure. Don't see it as a separate thing. Integrate it and enjoy it. Set yourself a goal. And again, less is more. Don't take on too much. Be realistic. For me, I then tell people, I feel that if I tell somebody that I have this goal and the deadline, there is more chance that I'm actually going to see it through. Be realistic. but don't sit still. So I'm not suggesting that you are continuously trying to develop. There are times that you just need to think, nope, I'm okay where I am. Less is more, but have a goal coming in the background. Provide time for reflection, recognise your achievements, and very importantly, praise yourself. Well done. We don't get that enough. We get it from our students sometimes, we get it from our managers, but praise ourselves. You know, we've done a good job every day, even when you've had a bad day, you've got through it. Work with somebody, share that experience, make it pleasurable, make it social. Choose activities that are interesting for you. And finally, there is so much out there, particularly now, that why not register for a short online course, become a student, learn another language, but do ask around, going back to your online network, make sure that you're choosing something that you know is good quality. Don't just go for a free or a cheap course. Choose something that you know is tried and tested and get that experience of becoming a student. And so all of this together should allow us to get pleasure out of our career and to grow, to set a good path and to make every day, every week as rewarding as possible. So finally, in the next slide, I come back to our happy places. And I finish as I started by saying embracing CPD helps us find our professional happy place. And with that, the next slide gives you my email address if you want to keep in touch. There you are. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. I'm now available for some questions. I have talked about a lot very quickly. Please don't be shy, put something in the chat box, or I don't know if you can unmute, but I'm here now to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks very much, Fiona. That was real. Well, that's really interesting. In the we have had one or two comments and questions in the Q&A box. As I said to people, please feel free to add more questions. We've got maybe 10 minutes before we start to wind down the session. The first question for you, Fiona, can you share your practical experience in developing career-long professional learning?
I wonder if they mean myself or the teams that I work with. I'll maybe talk a little here about. I was the academic manager for many years in the school that I work, and I work with. We have a team of very experienced teachers, and we got to a point that I felt that some of the teachers, they'd been teaching for 20+ years and they didn't really know how to move forward. And when I came into Wimbledon, I really set that as my challenge, to look at how to come in from either a starter teacher's view or a teacher who's been teaching for a long time, and to think about their pathway and to help them to move forward rather than to become bored. Because if we don't embrace our development, then it's easy to become bored and negative, and that's not good for anyone. It's not good for us ourselves and also for our students. That's not why we come into the profession. And I refer there to the British Council CPD framework, because I used this, and we still use this in school, to identify what the framework allows you to do. Is it allows you to identify as a teacher where you are in your teaching career. And you can see there, David's just putting up the kind of circle, the model of the framework. You identify where you are in your career. And then once you go into the detail behind this, the British Council website gives you pointers as to what you might want to engage in if you're on level 2 or level 3 of your career. If you're an experienced teacher, what can you do? And also it gives you the signs, the signals of when you're maybe getting a bit stuck. and when to start to help yourself. And so I'm not sure if this is answering your question or not, but this is certainly something that I feel gives you an objective way to plan out your career pathway. It shows you objectively opportunities. It's not coming from you, the individual, it's not coming from your manager, it's coming from a whole team of people that have put some ideas together to help you move forward and to think laterally as well, because the career path does not need to be a linear one. There are many different directions that you can go in, and you don't need to just do one thing after the other. You can dip into many different areas. Sorry, David, I think you were going to say something.
No, that's fine. Thank you very much for that, for sharing. And yeah, I've put the link to everybody who's still on the call. I've put the link in the chat as well. So have a look at the chat and click on some of the links of things that Fiona has been referring to during her talk. No, I was going to ask one. I don't see any more questions. Somebody has asked if we can share the PowerPoints.
Of course.
So and they've put their email in there, so you can. They're from Lam Dom province in the Central Highlands. So hello to, I can't see the name there, Ngop, I think it is. So thank you, Ngop, for that question. I was going to ask one question as we come to the close. We've got about 10-15 minutes left. You mentioned about the reflective tool, and I like when you were talking, Fiona, about the relationship, about integrating CPD into our professional and our personal lives. I think often teachers feel that CPD is something that is going to be extra work added on, and obviously, you know, we've all been under a lot of pressure and stress because of in response to COVID and moving online. So I was going to ask if you could talk a little bit about the idea of teacher well-being and how that can be incorporated into when we think about CPD. Even the title of your talk, you know, accessing meaningful CPD for busy teachers. That use of the phrase busy teachers, I think, is really interesting.
Yep, completely. I do think that it's very easy, and again, especially now, but teaching as a career is a career that invites burnout. And I think it's important to be mindful ourselves and to recognise the signals of when we're doing too much, pushing ourselves too much, being asked of too much, and not taking that time for ourselves. With well-being, I very much see professional development for ourselves as being an important part of our well-being. I am a big believer in stopping and reflecting on, are we doing the right things? Are we going in the right directions? Are we just doing the same thing day after day? And it just takes small changes. I'm not suggesting to anyone that, you know, you're giving too much to your career, so change your career. I'm suggesting just making a small change in your daily life, in your weekly life, and it starts with taking those 2 minutes to yourself. So, for example, and again, you know, everyone's situation is different, but when I've got a busy day of day-to-day back-to-back meetings in my school, I try to factor in, if I say that a meeting is 1 hour long, for example, I will tell the team that it's 50 minutes long, to give myself 10 minutes or 5 minutes at the end to take time to stop, catch my breath and reflect. As a teacher, you're going from class to class, students are coming in. If you can take only 2 minutes between your classes to stop and to catch yourself in the moment, to reflect on what good you did in that lesson, what the students got from it, also what you might do a little differently, but find the positives, I think really does feed into your well-being. It's a bit like I think the research shows, this is old research, shows that if you force yourself to smile, then it makes you feel happier. And I think it's the same kind of concept here, that you know, if you stop and think about the positives, what have I just achieved in that lesson? What have I just done today? And reward yourself, pat yourself on the back, and that takes a minute before you move into your next lesson. Again, I'm not sure if that's what you were looking for there, David, but I just think it's about catching those little moments for yourself rather than giving all the time.
No, exactly. And I think you touched on the idea of like reflection and reflecting on what we do as teachers, and I think it's very easy for people generally and teachers in particular to always, or not always, but often reflect on the negatives, the things that went wrong. But as you rightly said, it's important that we reflect on the small things that did go well in the classroom.
Definitely.
Online with a student, in terms of the feedback you get from students or what you see your students learning. I think that's really important. Another thing that you mentioned as well was kind of a takeaway, a homework task for everybody, was about setting a SMART goal. And Smiley in the Q&A, thank you Smiley, I love your name, says that, has a great kind of comment and then question for you, Fiona. And it's probably our last question for today. I think setting a realistic goal is sometimes difficult for me. Sometimes I can learn a lot. However, sometimes I find myself tired, out of energy, and I don't have the persistence to continue on that long journey. Fiona, would you share some experiences about this challenge for Smiley?
Yeah. The first thing I would say, Smiley, is don't be too hard on yourself. It's okay sometimes to just stop. And to just do what you're doing, and to be kind to yourself. I think in setting goals, keep them as small as possible. You know, a goal and an achievement are very much linked, and hopefully, I mean, everyone online today, you've achieved a piece of professional development in joining us all today. What did you set a goal yesterday that you were going to attend a webinar and take away 3 things, for example, from it? So keeping your goals as small as possible and not being too hard on yourself. Be kind, Smiley. Also, I would say you feel better afterwards. It's a bit like when you do exercise, you maybe can't be bothered, you're tired, but go for that walk, get some fresh air, go to the gym, you feel better afterwards. But be kind.
Thanks, Fiona. And I think on that, that's a great way to finish. And that's I think all the questions we've had so far. So if you've got any questions for Fiona, again, I've put on the screen there her email, so you can feel free, and as Fiona said, to contact her. Thanks very much, Fiona, for your time this morning.
Could I just say thank you so much to Huyen for doing my slides there.
Huyen sitting opposite me, she's got a great big smile on her face. So.
She did a great job.
It was a good, as you say, it was a good team effort. So thanks very much for your time on a Saturday morning. Before we finish today, and before I say a final thank you to Fiona, just to say that we have some more events coming up this week for teachers. During Fiona's talk, she was talking about, right at the end, she talks about maybe joining a short course. So on Tuesday this week, we have a webinar as part of our ASEAN webinar series. We've already had 2, and this will be the 3rd one. The topic this week is on teaching listening, on how to teach listening. And then you can also find out about how a course, a short MOOC, a massive open online course about teaching listening. So you can see there on the right hand side, you can see I will be moderating with teachers from Indonesia, from Thailand, and from Vietnam. Again, you can use the QR code. If you just put your phone over the QR code now, you can register very easily for that webinar on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we have one of our Digital Learning Innovation Fund projects that I mentioned at the start of the session today, the VietTESOL program. They will be having a symposium where they'll be sharing some of their learning from their the Viet Nam virtual exchange for English language teaching. So again, if you see there in the bottom right hand corner, you can see the QR code, and that is on Wednesday evening from 8 to 10:30 here Vietnam time, 1 to 3:30 in the UK. So again, a couple of QR codes for you there to use if you want to learn more about those things. That's this week. And then in December, oops, okay, in December, on the 10th and the 11th of December, we have our New Directions conference, which is very much looking at language assessment and the future of language assessment, particularly here in East Asia. Again, if you're interested in that, use your phone to go on the QR code. And then in this series, in the Partners in Innovation series, webinar series that Fiona has helped us kick off and start today, in 4 weeks' time, on the Saturday, the 18th of December, we're going to learn more about the one of our digital learning. I already talked about the VietTESOL program. We're going to learn about another one of our 3 Digital Learning Innovation Fund projects. This one is the Digital English Theatre Project, and if you look in the bottom right hand corner there, you can see a screenshot from some of the teachers from Cantor and the Mekong Delta trying out some digital English theatre as part of the project. So you can learn more about that. Again, if you look on the QR code, if you put your phone over the QR code there, you can find out very easily. You can register, sorry, very easily for that. Fiona talked about resources. So again, we have lots of resources for you. So just these are the last 2 slides I'm going to show you before we wrap up for today. We have our YouTube channel. On here you can find lots of resources. For example, the ASEAN English Teacher webinar series. We've already had 2, and we have a 3rd one on Tuesday. They're all uploaded there. There are teacher takeaways, a series of webinars from China, Japan and Vietnam. You can find those here. Again, just click on the QR code. And also the VietTESOL from just a few weeks ago, and Fiona was one of our very kind to present at the VietTESOL as well. So you can find out all the videos there, as well as the new directions from 2016 when it was held here in Hanoi. There's plenty more resources and plenty more videos for you to have a look at there. And also, Fiona mentioned the Teaching English website on the right hand side there, as well as our own Facebook page, the Teaching English Vietnam Facebook page. So again, just go onto Facebook and put in Teaching English Vietnam, and you can find lots of links to resources and webinars and courses, short courses and activities there. That's it for today. We're finished on time, which is fantastic. Remember, in 3 minutes, in our Indonesian colleagues will be having the 3rd of their Tech Talk series, which today is on maintaining classroom interaction. So if you want to join that course in 3 minutes, you can feel free to use the QR code. I already put the link as well in the registration link in the chat, and you can join that course there. And all it remains for me to say is a big thank you to Fiona Dunlop from the Wimbledon School of English. Thanks for your time, giving up it's very early in the UK. What time is it now, Fiona, in the UK?
Yep.
Almost. So hopefully you can enjoy your rest of your weekend in London. And to everybody here, wherever you are, I wish you a very happy what remains of your Vietnamese Teachers' Day. So thank you very much, Fiona. Great to see you again. Thanks for all. Okay, and we'll see you again, and we'll see you hopefully at one of our webinars or courses in the next few weeks and months. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great Teachers' Day. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.